It's July 15th, 2010, and we're here with Bob Morris. Bob, were you born here?
Yes, I was.
And were you born at home or in a hospital?
Born at home. The plot on the map is on the wall down there where I was born, and my great-grandfather had the house.
So did you grow up there then?
My dad worked as a plumber for a fella in Westerville by the name of Heine Hermelsheimer. Things were going well at that time when I was born, and then the Depression came, but in the meantime my father decided they were going to build a house. And they built a house on North Vine Street, the last house on the east side. My grandfather had a farm, and we moved to that. And the house was then rented to the mayor of Westerville. Wyndham was his name at that time. And he had a brother, of course, who was Skipper Wyndham, who had we all loved him, and he had a Sea Scout group here, believe it or not Boy Scout. He had it all set up. We had stanchions like a ship, and had a little gangplank. You slewed it, and he ran it. Terrific. I mean, we all, no horseplay or anything like that. My father, he should have gone into the World War I service, but being on a farm, I guess in those days, if you worked on a farm and your father said you're needed, why, you were exempt, and so he never did go into the service. But he had to drop out of school at 8th grade, so he never went beyond 8th grade. When I got a diploma from Otterbein, I was overseas, and my dad, excuse me, one who only went through the 8th grade, went up to get the diploma, which is one of the greatest things that really ever happened.
So he picked up your diploma because you were overseas. Where were you at?
Well, I was aboard that LSM. I was in Guadalcanal, I believe. I was aboard ship, not really on the island or anything. We always had a dog aboard ship. We called him Gator, and we picked up a little monkey at Guadalcanal and took it aboard. And the dog and the monkey were constantly playing. The monkey would hop on the dog's back. Of course, we had this big tank well. You know, they had all kinds of room when we didn't have anything loaded to run around and everything. Well, from the very get-go, when we picked up the ship in Galveston and went down to the canal, I was sick all the way down there, seasick. We go through the canal and up to San Diego, I'm sick, all the way to Frisco, I'm sick, all the way over to Honolulu. I'm sick all the time. I cannot get over seasickness. I try everything. I always thought it was in my head. Of course, it was balance type of thing. During one of our little storms, I saw the monkey. Excuse me for telling this whole story. This monkey was vomiting just like a person and had his paws up, doing the same thing that I did, except I did it over the side of the ship. But so I said, "Hey, Bob, it isn't in your head.
The monkey's got the
it's a
same
demonstration
problem.
of it." Yeah.
So how long were you at sea then?
Well, we were at sea 14 months or 16 months. And I tried tomato juice. We tried everything on me.
Oh my, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, it was, but it was just the stubbornness on my part, and I didn't want to go say that I couldn't handle it, but that was the case. I had no idea when I enlisted in the Navy that would be a problem. Well, we were in the Okinawa hurricane, which was very destructive. It ruined a lot of ships and everything. And but we set out to sea, and the ship that I was on had 2 engines, diesel engines, and 1,800 horsepower each. And during this hurricane, tornado, typhoon, whatever you want to call it, the waves were so high, I'm not exaggerating, you'd look up to see it that way, and then you'd be down like this. And of course our ship was 200 feet long, and when a wave would come like that, the props or the screws would come out of the water, and they had governors, but the governor couldn't react fast enough, and so it would be like revving up your engine, and the thing went, and then it would dig in as you went down, and that went on for a day or two.
That had to be pretty scary.
Yeah, it was, but the larger ship was more prone for problems because it was so large that it's like bending a wire. The ship, the wave would hit the center of it and all the weight and everything, but we would just kind of go up like that.
Ride it.
Ride it. When the World War II broke out, of course, I was in my second, basically, just finishing my first year. And so I said, hey, the V-12 and the V-5 program, that's what the Navy called their programs. And if you enlisted, chances are you'd be able to finish your college before you had to go in. And so in 1941 I enlisted, along with tons of other Otterbein students. 1943 comes along, I still had 1 more year to go, as all the other guys did. They called us up. And so we went into active duty then. And many of us from Otterbein ended up going to Ohio Wesleyan because they at that time had both the V-12 and the V-5 programs going on. The V-5 was for the flyboys, and the V-12 was for the guys that went aboard ship. And we go to Ohio Wesleyan, and of course there's PT, all kinds of drills and everything. But you still took some college classes. I was shipped along with John Schiffler and a bunch of other guys down to Portsmouth, Virginia. Again, PT and all this kind of stuff. And then they sent us to midshipman school. And they were listed all over the United States. It was during exams up there, and I got the measles. And so I look forward to having to go through this all again. They shipped my tail up to right out of Chicago, Great Lakes. Mm-hmm. And but fortunately my grades had been high enough, and they said, well, we're waiving that. I still graduated it. Well, I got out of midshipman school. I told everybody braggingly that anybody that would get married while they were in the service ought to have their head examined. I mean, why go get married and have a child or something like that, or leave some widow, and anyone to do that is terrible. Well, my mother comes up to Chicago. She says, now, Robert, you're not planning on getting married, are you? I says, no, Mom, don't worry about that. You know how I feel on that. Well, Judy, my wife, comes up about 2 weeks later, and she said, before she left, I says, okay, dear, you make all the arrangements. Go down to Argo and Laney and get a ring and make all the arrangements. And so that's what she did. Of course, I had gone with her. I met her in college, and she came as a freshman. I latched onto her real fast. She makes all the arrangements. Well, I get out of midshipman school, as I say, on a Friday, and I take the fastest route up to Crestline. My parents drive the old car up to Crestline to pick me up. And next day, Saturday, we get married on Saturday at the church, the Methodist church there, and the reception's at the Williams Grill on the second floor. And so then we had a reservation at the Destro Wallach, which is long gone. That's our night for Saturday night. Sunday, my parents had to take me up to Crestline to get on that train because it was headed for, I was shipped to Raleigh, North Carolina State for diesel engineering study. And so Judy and I were married. She got on the train with me. We found a room down there. And so she was able to travel with me a little bit, even till we picked up the ship. Even the shakedown cruise, she was over at Galveston with me. But anyway, that was, and the fellow that I roomed with, he was on that same trip. He was dating a gal in Chicago that he had met there. We got on the train at Crestline, Judy and I, and there is old Schilder. He's there waiting for me.
So I've heard that at Otterbein, they really didn't have dances until after World War II. Is that true?
I was active in the country club fraternity, but I think we had dances. Maybe they were all in the fraternity houses. I don't know. I can't ever remember going into a gym, let's say, and having a dance or anything.
Some more private party kind of
right.
thing.
Of course, they had a definite curfew on the gals and getting back into the dorm and everything. Girls always managed to sneak out somewhere or another, I think, and the old dorms had kind of a big window, and they could open the window. And of course, we had a very, very nice thing, I thought. The gal was engaged. The fraternity of the fella, we serenaded and go to the dorm and serenade, and some of those fellas had real good, really nice voices, and because they were in music and all this, and we marched down the street. And it was, I always enjoyed that because it was kind of very pretty, I thought. We'd carry candles sometimes. I'd say Williams Grill probably was the big hangout then. So many college gals worked there. Oh, it was a great source for them to work waiting table and getting tips and everything. And in those days, we only had one policeman, Teddy, and Ted Rowe. He didn't have a motorcycle, didn't have a car, he'd walk. It was strictly a walk, you know. Always a standing joke. It says if something happens to the north end of Westerville, you can bet that he's going to be in the south end and vice versa. But didn't have much trouble, I don't think. Did have one little thing one time. It had to be junior or senior in high school. And at the corner of Grove Street and Park, which is right off the campus, it must have been Halloween time, yeah. Anyway, we set the leaves on fire in the street, and the police got us. Teddy did, and he took us all up to the jail, which only had 1 or 2 cells. And he couldn't get us all in there, so I think he just dropped it right there.